How is everybody doing today? And in this video, we are going to be looking at the tier list for the 1.4 version with Miyabi and Harumasa. Now, there's going to be a lot of different changes when it comes to looking at how they're structuring the tier list. Of course, it's going to be prydwen's tier list, where you're going to look at certain characters because there's a lot of things that move around this time, especially with looking at Harumasa and Miyabi's inclusion. Not only that, we have the ultimate update now as well, which means that yes, we're basically starting brand new at this point. A lot of different roles ended up getting super big buffs because of this, and a lot of different characters are now in a much stronger standpoint just because now they can use their ultimate alongside of a lot of the teams that they're going to be on. So we are going to be looking at this tier list in a big magnifying glass just because there's so many different changes with these characters and how they act. I definitely want to say what my characters are, what tier I think they should be on, and I might even make my own tier list in the future, but we're going to just use this as a foundation. So what we're going to go ahead and do is look at the prydwen tier list, and I do want to look at the criteria really quickly just because so that we know what they're basing it off of. Every character is going to be maxed out basically. Their best 3-man team, okay, understandable. S ranks will be at Mindscape 0, 100% understandable. A rank characters will be at Mindscape 6. So now we're doing full dupe characters, which is huge for a lot of different A ranks in this game. I don't know a lot of them. I do know some of the more stronger ones, but if I do miss one, let me know in the comments and I would love to comment back or reply if you know, I made a mistake when it comes to the A ranks at that Mindscape 6. They have their A ranks have their P5 or their proficiency 5, I think that's what it's called, for their W engines, and then the standard S rank. Okay, so they have to have a standard W engine. I don't know about that, but I don't know how I feel about this. S ranks needing their a standard S rank. I don't know, we'll have to see. DPSs are going to be how much damage they can output, and also the ease and frequency of anomaly application. When it comes to, I'm assuming, the anomaly characters. Stun, major influence is going to be how much days they can deal, whether character grants buffs, and then how much anomaly or damage can they do. So understandable for a stun character. And then supports, how powerful the support characters buffs are, and then how little field time on the support character they require, and then also how much anomaly days and damage. So honestly, 100% of the stuff that we already knew they would basically prioritize when looking at these characters. But let's go ahead and start looking at what we're looking at. So we see that the anomaly DPS tier, or their column, is now gone. It's just one single DPS column. 100% makes sense. I 1000% agree with this. There's kind of no difference in the anomaly DPS versus the DPS, so we might as well just put them together. And then we have stun and support. Tier 0 at the current moment is going to be Miyabi by herself at tier 0. I 1000% agree. I think everybody agrees at this point that Miyabi is just a monster. She is literally one of the most nastiest characters we've gotten in Zenless Zone 0, and picking her up by herself already, you can easily see that she is a tier above everybody else in this game. Like, she's shredding everyone. She's deleting enemies with one skill, one hold, basic attack. There's just so many great things that come out of Miyabi, and for all intents and purposes, yes, she is tier 0 by herself. When it comes to the stun characters, we see Chingy and also Lighter are going to be in tier 0. I 1000% agree. Looking at what Lighter can do, especially for ice and fire teams. Also talking about him being with Miyabi, him being with Ellen, him being with Soldier 11, who's been getting a massive amount of buffs. These characters have been getting non-stop buffs and also have been being able to have a higher tier with their full 3-man team, just because Lighter is such a great character, giving you that ice and fire damage boost, also giving the fire and ice res decrease on the enemies, which make it really nice. And also, not only that, you extend the stun timer, which is really big for these DPS characters, so that's really great overall for Lighter. And then Chingy with her amazing icy days application, not only that, her massive stun damage multiplier that she adds onto the enemy, pretty big thing as well. The ultimate update has by far made stunners so valuable in this game, just because now, especially with Chingy, because I've been using her in a lot of my different teams, Chingy is able to use, you know, her little spam basic attack, and then not only that, go into her golden bar hold and then use your skill, use your ult, and then you have a full golden bar again. You use it again and the enemies practically stunned. And I'm talking about Shiyu 7 endgame boss. They're immediately stunned again. So that makes it absolutely beautiful when it comes to looking at what Chingy and Lighter can do. They're absolutely amazing characters, and them getting the ultimate update where they're able to use their own ultimates only makes them even stronger with being able to make the enemies basically stunned as fast as possible. So this is a really great thing overall for the game. The next character is going to be Caesar with her impenetrable shield and her damage boosting potential that she's able to give to the team. 100% agree with her being at tier 0. I do think one other character does deserve to be on this spot. I'm not gonna lie. We'll talk about this in a quick second. I've been saying this ever since the game has come out, and I feel like even with the ultimate update, this is even more prevalent just because of what they're able to do, how much they're able to do it now, and also how good they're able to do it with how they're able to use their ultimate. So we'll talk about that when we get to it. But overall, I kind of agree with this for the most part, but I do think one person should be added to the support tab for tier 0, and I'll talk about that later. Tier 0.5. This is going to be for the DPS page, and this is going to be Bernice, Jane, Yanagi, and Juyin. I honestly 100% agree, just because the anomaly characters are just overall really strong. There's nothing that you can say about it. These characters are able to crap out damage as fast as possible. Jane with her massive physical assaults, Bernice with her off-field potential and being able to do massive damage as well with her burn, Yanagi being able to force her disorders, force shock, all that different type of stuff. These are overall really great characters, and I do agree that they're in the 0.5 range. Juyin is leaving Ellen in the dust when it comes to her DPS, especially, and I do want to make a video talking about a lot of different teams because of this new update, but because of characters like Nicole, characters like Qingyi now being able to use their ultimates, Juyin almost gets permanent uptime when it comes to when she's able to DPS, because as we know, she gets a massive damage multiplier whenever an enemy is stunned, and having Qingyi, having Nicole being able to reduce defense, give that ether damage bonus, give a squad damage bonus on her relic set, and not only that, being able to give the damage bonus on her W engine if I'm not wrong, that is an absolutely beautiful thing to give Juyin, and it makes her so freaking strong, especially with this update that we're now allowed to use all our ultimates. And this goes to show for all these characters as well. Jane is able to refresh her passion state, Bernice is able to do her off-field ultimate, which to be honest, she's still the only one of that kind, and then Yanagi is able to spam disorders within her ultimate as well and get a massive amount of anomaly buildup. All these characters deserving of 0.5 100%, but we all know Miyabi deserves to be in tier 0 by herself without a doubt. I think that's a really big thing to mention, that yes, she deserves her own tier with what she's able to do. The next character is going to be Lycan in 0.5 over what I assume is Coleta, and that is correct. I 100% agree, just because right now Coleta and Lycan kind of have the same amount of teams they could be on realistically, but Lycan's able to give the stun damage multiplier, which is always a really big thing for these teams, because this means you can use a lot more damage or abuse more damage with these stun damage multipliers, heightening how much damage you are able to do. Of course, Qingyi does a little bit more, and she has a little bit more of a broader skill of teams, but Lycan is also able to do so, and even more so for some of the stronger characters in the game, like Ellen, like Miyabi, and of course whatever characters come out in the future that are ice. This is a really good thing for Lycan, but what makes these two characters so good is that they're able to be put on a multitude of different teams based on their team passives and what they're able to do within their own actual passives. For the 0.5 list, we have Lucy, Nicole, and Rena. Rena, Nicole, and Lucy. A lot of these support characters definitely without a doubt are much stronger. The support role itself is so much stronger because of the ultimate update, because now they're able to give energy to whoever they switch into. Not only that, they're able to quick assist out of their ultimate, beautiful, and not only that, they're able to have their buff stand a little bit longer with being able to throw out their ultimate. And the same thing goes for someone like Lucy, someone like Nicole, someone like Rena. These characters, well, not Rena because she doesn't have dupes, but with Lucy being able to have her M6, this means her ultimate also gives cheer on. Same thing goes with Nicole. She's able to give a crit rate buff as well with having her M6. So this is absolutely beautiful for a lot of the support characters in the game, that they're now able to use their ultimate. Now, I do have one nitpick right here, because I feel like a character deserved to be in tier 0, and I've always felt that they deserve to be in tier 0 until we see someone come out and do the same thing but a little bit better. Because of the ultimate update, and this is even before the ultimate update, but this makes it even more prevalent because of the ultimate update itself, I do want to say a character like Nicole deserves to be in 0. Absolutely, she does absolutely massive buffs to an enormous amount of the cast. Not only is there the potential to put her on a bunch of different teams because she is in the support role, which a lot of characters are either asking for support or they're asking for a character that can use ether, and she's able to work on a bunch of different teams because of this, because she can self-fulfill her own team passive by just having Anby on the team, which helps out quite a bit. And then you look at what she's able to do, and don't mind my talent, but if you look at what she's able to do, she's given a 40% defense down on her skill, on her ultimate, on her chain attack, which is pretty big for a bunch of different characters. Not only can you use this character for someone like Yanagi, you're able to use this, not Yanagi, you're able to use this character with someone like Juyin, like Miyabi, all these other DPSs. 40% defense down is absolutely absurd, especially when you take into account her ultimate lasts quite a bit, especially if you're able to quick assist out of it. You get a good amount of defense shred for a very long time for these characters, and you don't need that much time to be able to throw out as much damage as you are, especially if you're using a character like Juyin or Miyabi. Looking at that 40% defense reduce is insane. Looking at her ether damage bonus, insane as well. And not only that, if you look at her engine as well is able to increase all squad members damage by 24%. And give herself energy, which is insane, by dealing ether damage, which she's doing with all of her stuff, by her EX special attack, chain attack, or ultimate. That is absolutely massive stuff. And not only that, you're able to couple on the stuff that you give with her swing jazz, which is giving her chain attacks and ultimates a squad damage boost as well for 15 seconds. These are a massive amount of boosts and show how much power she's able to put out and throw out to a lot of these different teams, because realistically, you don't need her team passive. Her team passive only works for ether damage characters, and that's really pretty much it. But for a lot of the characters in this game, you really just want her core passive, which she gets by just using anything in her kit, plus her relic set or her disk drive set, plus her W engine, which on all intents and purposes are part of this criteria. Not only that, I forgot to mention, when you do get her at M6, which we are rating her on if I'm not wrong, M6 gives you a full 10% crit rate buff. It is a 15% crit rate buff, if I'm not wrong, for 12 seconds. So this further more increases the damage you're going to be doing with Nicole, or at least makes it a little bit more consistent. I do genuinely think, even though yes, Lucy gives a nice attack buff, yes, Rina helps with that pen, and she's even more useful now with characters like Harumasa and other electric characters out in the game right now, Nicole is a much more broader support, a crazy support with all that she has, with her disk drive set, with her W engine, with the defense down, with the ether bonus, with the squad damage bonus. There's just so many things you're getting with Nicole, and on top of it, she's able to group. Being able to group in this game is something not a lot of characters have in this game, and I don't honestly think anyone really has it besides Caesar as well, but Nicole's able to give those plethora of buffs. I do think, in all honesty, that Nicole deserves to share that tier 0 spot with Caesar with all that she has in her kit. She's just such a universal character. She even makes ether units even more busted. I just believe, for the most part, that she deserves to be up there with Caesar. But let me know in the comments what you think about this. I do genuinely think she deserves to be up there, without a doubt. But let's continue on with this tier list. For the most part, I think for the most part, from what we've seen up here in 0 and 0.5, I do agree that most of this is correct, which is really nice to see. But looking at Nicole, she deserves to be in 0, without a doubt. I do think these guys are a little bit, how do I say, these guys are a little bit put together a little too closely. I do think there are characters that show a little bit more promise than some of these guys. Like, I do think Bernice and Yanagi are a little bit higher than Jane and Juyin, but for all intents and purposes, in the amount of space in between their power, they're a little closer to each other. When we go down, of course, you're going to see Ellen, Harumasa, and Soldier 11. I honestly agree. I think Harumasa is a really good character overall, for sure, because you're going to see a lot of these characters in the same team, so it makes sense that they're going to be right next to each other. But looking at Harumasa, Ellen, and Soldier 11, these guys have been getting absolutely massive buffs. And I don't want to say that these guys are not going to be used because they have so many characters above them. Most of these characters share the same team, so realistically, you're going to be finding yourself with either having Miyabi with some of these characters, or these characters intertwined with each other. But we're not going to lie and say that Juyin does the same amount of damage as these guys, because Juyin just craps out an insane amount with their best team, which no one can refute for the most part. Ellen has been getting a nice amount of buffs, but of course doesn't compare to the guys up here. Harumasa is absolutely beautiful what he's able to do as a free character, so he's pretty nice staying here in tier 1. Soldier 11, again, same one thing that we've been saying for a lot of these other characters. She's been getting massive buffs ever since her release. She was kind of in the middle spot with her power, but now that she's received characters like Lighter, she's received characters like Caesar, Bernice, all these different things, she's been getting a massive amount of buffs or a massive amount of teammates ever since her release, which is really, really great for her. I really can't wait to see when we're going to get more of her own faction, which would be really cool to see how they synergize with her in the future. But I do think realistically this is really nice in the tier list. Like I said, these guys, I could push some of them down like characters like Jane and Juyin versus someone like Yanagi and Bernice, because Bernice's off-field potential is just a really big thing about her. But I do think that putting these guys together makes a lot of sense because they intermingle as much as they do. Coleda's by herself in tier 1 over Ambi, 1000% makes sense. My boy Seth does not deserve to be in tier 1. Let's be real. Seth right now is a driving force inside the anomaly meta we are currently in, especially with a character like Miyabi. Let's move Seth up to 0.5. Let's please not do this to Seth. I feel like Seth has been underrated for such a long time because I feel like not a lot of people invest into him or use him. And this is M6 Seth as well, which means he's able to do damage plus give all the bonuses that he does. I do think Seth 100% deserves to be your 0.5. At least, because he's giving what these guys give for an anomaly team. Let's be real. I do think that Seth needs to be up here. So Kaku, she is a little selfish, although she is buffing up ice characters. There's not a lot of ice characters in the game right now that really want her over other teammates, I guess you could say. Ellen and Sokaku definitely is one of the pairings that you would do, but Miyabi has so many different teammates that she doesn't require Sokaku, so it makes 1000% sense why she's down here. And plus, it sucks that her crit rate buff, which for some reason I thought applied to everyone, it only applies to her, which really does suck, which would make her a really insane support if she did that for everyone. But sadly she doesn't. She's kind of selfish. She wants to do the damage herself technically, but she does give a plethora of buffs, especially at M6, helping out ice a crap ton. But realistically, characters like Miyabi don't need her, and someone like Ellen also has other substitutes to throw in as well, like having Lighter with Lycan for a double stun if they wanted to, or of course throwing in Sokaku, but that's only one team, you know. But I do think Seth deserves to be 0.5 without a doubt. 1.5 is going to be Piper alone. I agree at this point, only because we've gotten so many anomaly units that now her value is lowering. Before, I thought she was up in the 0.5s, up to tier 1, but now since we're getting a bunch of buffs for other attack characters, we're getting a lot of buffs for characters that have been left alone for a long time, and also have a plethora of anomaly units now as well, she's kind of not needed anymore, which kind of does suck, but she is a really cool unit. But 1.5 is fitting for her. Ambi, my favorite. Sadly, of course, there's been too many new stun characters, and not only that, the ultimate update even more so makes these characters so much stronger. But Ambi, yes, has to be under Coleda because she is really good at helping out with days. Sadly, no stun damage multiplier for Coleda, but it is a big difference between Ambi and Coleda now that they fixed Coleda quite some time ago. So it's really good overall in terms of the power between these guys. And then it's empty for support. Grace and Nekomata. I don't know if I agree with Nekomata being put in tier 2. She hasn't seen a lot of play 100%, only because the anomaly meta has been here for quite some time, and the only other character that made her rise a little bit higher is going to be someone like Jane Doe. But the problem is now Jane Doe has a team that she would rather be on, like having Seth, having Chingy, having Bernice, having Yanagi. I mean, all these characters are definitely higher in priority than someone like Nekomata. I don't think Nekomata 100% falls under tier 2, because if we are able to use her whole team, I do think that Jane does carry quite a bit of the power of it, just because it allows Nekomata to be able to easily access those crit assaults, which hurt so freaking much. I think for the most part we can put her into 1.5, but she still doesn't see a lot of play, sadly. I do think she's in the same realm as Piper realistically, although she doesn't have a lot of teammates to bounce off of compared to what we have now. So I do think that Nekomata deserves to be in 1.5, because she is allowed to have her own W engine by their criteria, and this means that she's allowed to have the back attacks for her own kit. So I do think she deserves to be 1.5. but tier 2, I guess. Grace, sadly, yes, she has fallen from grace, literally. But yeah, there's been too many anomaly units for the most part that have taken her spot. She kind of doesn't have that flair anymore in being able to synergize well with a lot of these characters, so it makes 100% sense why she is in tier 2. And then everything else is empty. Anton, Billy, and Corin, I agree 100%. I'm not too well versed on their M6s. I do know Billy has some crazy potential. Anton has some crazy power ramping as well. Corin also has a stacking mechanic, but realistically, you're not using these guys over everybody else here. They kind of been forgotten, and it sucks to see. I wish they would bring out S-rank versions of all these guys, because I think that'd be really cool. Having an S-rank Nicole, ooh, that'd be insane. And then Ben at the bottom. I'm not too familiar with Ben. I don't know how people are using him, especially with the ultimate update. I have zero idea. I just never touched Ben for the most part. I would love to know in the comments if y'all are using Ben, if y'all think he's really good. I would like to dig into that in the future. But other than that, that is the tier list for Zenless. And I'm not gonna lie to y'all, I think a lot of this is correct for the most part, which I think the last time we did this tier list, I did not agree so much, but seeing where these guys are, I do agree where they're at. I do think that Nicole needs to be bumped up one, Seth needs to be bumped up one. Stun characters in a world by themselves, these are accurately placed. These are accurately placed as well. Miyabi deserves to be alone 100%. Bernice and Yanagi hold a little bit more power in the 0.5 list than Jane and Juyin, but because of characters like Ellen, Harmasa, and Soldier 11, I do agree for the most part that when paired up with their best teammates, these guys are going to be in a tier by themselves over these three. Although these three are still super strong, especially Haramasa and Soldier 11. Piper really isn't going to be seeing a lot of play because of course all these anomaly characters, and then Grace and Nekomata, not many people use them, but I wouldn't mind having Nekomata be boosted up to where Piper is. And that's pretty much it for the most part for this tier list. I do think this is pretty nice. I think this is well formatted. We'll see how the meta shakes up when Astra Yao, a support character, gets added onto the game. And then not only that, we also have Evelyn as well coming out as an attack character. Very interesting stuff, very exciting stuff. Other than that, thank you guys so much for watching all the way to the video. See y'all guys in the next one, and peace.